Coming up today, an audit of government offices kicks off at the National Assembly. Several hundred government agencies and public institutions will be inspected over the next 3 weeks. Government officials and academics from around the world are gathered in the Korean capital for the 2015 Seoul Defense Dialogue. Korean reunification, maritime tensions in East Asia and cybersecurity are among the top agenda items. Plus, to great fanfare, Apple unveils the next generation of iPhone. It also launches a new iPad, Apple TV, Apple Watch features, and even a $100 pencil. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Thursday, the 10th of September. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. We start at Korea's National Assembly, where lawmakers have started their 22-day-long audit of government offices in what is expected to be the biggest inspection during the 19th Assembly session. 12 parliamentary committees will consider relevant government bodies to inspect and provide better policy alternatives. Lawmakers from the Science and ICT Committee intend to grill officials from the country's two portal giants, Naver and Daum Kakao, over claims they provided misleading information that could have swayed voters during past elections. The ruling Saenuri party says the portals tend to favour the main opposition party, and that's a claim the New Politics Alliance for Democracy denies. During the course of the audit, more than 700 government agencies and public institutions will be inspected. Land and sea provocations by North Korea have increased, according to a South Korean government report. A paper submitted to Parliament on Thursday by Seoul's Defense Ministry shows North Korea launched 64 cases of provocations over the last 5 years. This includes 8 cases of border trespass. However, the ministry noted that there were no intrusions by North Korea across the demilitarized zone between the years of 2010 to 2013. Provocations near the Western Sea border have also increased over the past 5 years, with 13 separate incidents recorded last year alone. The multilateral Seoul Defense Dialogue is being held in the South Korean capital. Some 250 vice-ministerial level officials, academics from 30 countries and 4 international organizations are taking part. The 3-day forum, the fourth of its kind, will focus on the post-World War II era and the division of Korea. High on the agenda will be discussions on the reunification of the two Koreas, the maritime crisis in East Asia, cyber protection, and also defense cooperation. Officials will also discuss global health security and nuclear non-proliferation. The top UN official on North Korea's human rights is currently in the South Korean capital to take a closer look at the widespread violations in the north. He says the UN is paying close attention to the dire situation north of the border. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
North Korea's labor export has been brought up to the attention of the United Nations. That's according to UN Special Rapporteur on North Korean human rights, Marzuki Darusman.
That's now being brought to the attention of the UN since last March, and therefore it will then now become let us say, an issue, a matter to be addressed from here on by the UN.
As many as 150,000 North Koreans are believed to be toiling under harsh conditions in around 40 countries, including Qatar and Russia. The workers reportedly receive just 10% of their pay, with the rest going to the North Korean leadership. North Korea is one of the few nations in the world that refuses to join the International Labor Organization. Mr. Darusman said putting an end to this state-sponsored labor export will deliver a double blow to the regime.
Addressing this issue is addressing a major source of hard currency for the regime, and therefore it is also a pressure point on the North Koreans in this regard.
With more than a year since the release of the landmark UN report on North Korean human rights, Mr. Darusman called for concrete actions.
It is now time to consider the concrete measures that should be taken to ensure accountability for those crimes and to set up a broader process of transitional justice.
Mr. Darusman will be back in Seoul in November before he submits a new report on North Korea's human rights situation to the UN in March next year. 황상희, Arirang News.
President Park Geunhye says strong cooperation among participating countries is the key to success for the Eurasia Transport and Logistics Network. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the three-day ASEM Symposium on the Eurasia Transport and Logistics Network, President Park proposed establishing a working group for joint research and said the first meeting should be held here in Korea, adding that it's important to link transport networks throughout Eurasia. She stressed the need for each country to share their network strategies. President Park said unnecessary regulations must be reworked to overcome any regulatory hurdles which block the smooth formation of networks. Import prices in Korea continue to fall in August, extending their on-year decline to a 36th straight month. According to data from the Bank of Korea, import prices dropped 13.6% last month from the year before, slightly lower than a 14% decline in July. Prices fell 0.3% in August from the previous month. The drop was attributed to weakening import prices of coal and oil products compared to the previous year. They plunged 41.1% in August from the year before. Export prices fell 1.5% last month compared to the previous year, but gained 0.7% from the previous month on the back of a stronger dollar against the local currency. Now, exactly 1 month has passed since China devalued its currency. For a look at the impact of Beijing's decision that sent shockwaves across global markets, Kim Min-ji reports.
China's currency devaluation last month left much of the global market in shock. It was a move many saw as an indication that China's slowdown was more serious than first thought. Within a 3-day span, the value of its currency depreciated 4.66%, sending China's stock market into meltdown. On August 24th, dubbed Black Monday, the Shanghai Composite closed down 8.5%, the biggest fall in 8 years, sending jitters through global markets. In less than a month, $8 trillion were wiped off indices across the world. That's more than 5 times greater than Korea's GDP. Global research firm Market Economics says 35 benchmark indices all recorded minus rates of profit. The Shenzhen Composite Index posted the sharpest drop, plunging over 17%, followed by the Shanghai Composite. Korea's tech-heavy Kosdaq also fell more than 12%. The meltdown in China also hit global currencies, with the value of Brazil's real and Colombia's peso falling more than 10% and 6% respectively. Although the situation appears to be waning on rising hopes for further economic stimulus measures from the Chinese government, some say it's too early to conclude a recovery. Dominic Rossi, the global chief investment officer at Fidelity Worldwide Investment, says the global economy is bearing the brunt of a third deflationary wave. He said that all emerging market crises start in the foreign exchange markets before spreading to others, such as commodities, debt equity, and finally, the real economy. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, one of Korea's best-loved cars, the Hyundai Avante, has a whole new look. Hyundai Motor hopes the model will follow in the footsteps of its popular predecessor, especially as competition in the domestic subcompact sector is fiercer than it's ever been. Han Dan reports.
Hyundai has unveiled its all-new Avante, the first redesign of the popular model in 5 years. The Avante, also known as the Elantra outside of Korea, is a subcompact car widely loved by Koreans and many others around the world, with cumulative global sales exceeding 10 million units. Over 930,000 Avantes were sold around the world last year alone, trailing only Toyota's Corolla and Ford's Focus as the third best-selling car in the world. Hyundai Motor says the 2016 Avante boasts better performance, safety features, and fuel efficiency. The Korean automaker aims to sell up to 700,000 units by the end of next year.
The all-new Avante is expected to play a big role helping Hyundai Motor hit 40% market share in Korea's auto market.
Foreign automakers are also jumping into the subcompact race in Korea. Jaguar has unveiled its first subcompact model XE, while BMW has launched 7 new 3 Series models. And with Mercedes-Benz C-Class models and Audi's A4 posting steady sales in the country, competition in the subcompact sector is about to get even more intense. 한다은 Arirang News.
Now, today is World Suicide Prevention Day, and the risk for students in Korea is especially high, unfortunately. Now, a new study shows that more or less time in bed can also increase the risks. The study, published earlier this month in the online journal BMJ Open, shows that students who got fewer than 7 hours of sleep were 1.5 times more likely to commit suicide than those who got the full 7 hours. But even those who got more than 7 hours of sleep, certain sleep patterns, such as waking up earlier than 7 a.m. or going to bed before 11 p.m. or after 2 a.m., led to an increase in suicidal thoughts. The survey of roughly 191,000 students in grades 7 through 12 was conducted from 2011 to 2013 by 2 local universities. Now, Korea continues to have the highest suicide rate in the OECD, as it has since 2003. And suicide remains the leading cause of death among young Koreans. And a sleep expert has suggested that people shouldn't start work until 10 a.m. and school even later. Speaking ahead of a major trial at schools in Britain, Dr. Paul Kelly from Oxford University said starting school an hour later could help teenagers boost their cognitive performance, get better exam results, and just overall improve their general health. The leading sleep scientist said a similar move could also help working adults because most people's body clocks do not suit a 9 a.m. working start. Now, Kelly says most developed countries are sleep-deprived societies. Sleep deprivation has been linked with diabetes, depression, obesity, and an impaired immune system. Apple has unveiled a bunch of new shiny devices at a highly anticipated event in the United States. They include upgraded iPhones, a new version of Apple TV, and even a high-tech pencil. Son Jang-in reports.
Calling the newly unveiled iPhones the most advanced smartphones in the world, Apple CEO Tim Cook says the latest models may not look a whole lot different from last year's, but underneath, everything has changed.
I am thrilled to show you the newest iPhones.
He demonstrated the features of the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus, including an upgraded 12-megapixel camera that's capable of capturing 4K video and a new capability called 3D Touch, which allows users easier access to different menus and information based on how lightly or firmly the screen is pressed. They will also come in a new rose gold finish targeting female consumers and with a new glass screen that Apple describes as the strongest in the industry. The new phones will hit stores on September 25th in 12 countries with prices the same as the existing iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. Korea was not included in the first group of launch nations. Apple also introduced a brand new version of its best-selling iPad tablet, the iPad Pro. It packs a larger 12.9-inch screen that will be usable with the Apple Pencil and an optional keyboard. In addition, Apple launched a new version of Apple TV and Apple Watch. The TV box has its own app store that can be operated with a touch-sensitive remote control and a microphone that allows it to be voice-operated. Apple's upgraded smartwatch comes with a few new accessories, 2 new metal collars, and a partnership with luxury brand Hermes. Son Jang-in, Arirang News.
Now, a new report suggests that this year may mark the end of the smartphone boom that began with the 2007 launch of the original iPhone. Global industry tracker TrendForce predicts an output of 1.34 billion units in 2016. And that's just 5.8% annual growth, and that's down 2.5% from this year's rate estimation. Apple may next year see its first ever single-digit growth for iPhone shipments at 7.5%, and that's half the 2015 rate prediction as well. Apple's focus on hardware updates and new releases from other smartphone brands are likely to erode the California-based company's sales. However, Chinese budget smartphone brands are expected to see steady growth of at least 10%, with more than 570 million units of combined sales. A Korean citizen with a suspected case of Ebola contracted while he was travelling abroad has been cleared of infection. According to the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the man notified a local medical centre that he had a high fever upon returning to Korea from Guinea on Tuesday. After a series of tests at the National Medical Centre, he was cleared of Ebola but diagnosed with malaria. The KCDC has requested that travellers returning from Ebola-infected countries like Guinea and Sierra Leone report to local medical centres if they experience symptoms of Ebola, and that includes high fever or diarrhea. Now, after the outbreak of Middle East respiratory syndrome, Korea has been working very hard to strengthen its preventive measures against outbreaks of infectious diseases. Well, that just about does it for now. But before we go, just a quick reminder that Arirang TV is hosting a session of the World Economic Forum in China this afternoon. It is entitled Asia's Energy Options and will last around 1 hour. And we will be broadcasting it live, only on Arirang's website, though, from 2 p.m. Korea time. So check it out if you can. The website, once again, is arirang.com. Go there and you'll see a pop-up link. Just click on that to watch it. Well, thank you very much for watching our newscast. Goodbye.